Next speaker is flying in from New York and is nobody else than Elizabeth Balkan from the Natural Resources Defense Council.
Thank you.
The stage is yours, Elizabeth. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. Wow, those lights are very bright. Just a little bit of information, background for those who don't know the Natural Resources Defense Council. This organization, which was founded in the 1970s, is responsible for many of the United States bedrock environmental regulations, including, of course, the Clean Air and Clean Water Act. But not only are we acting at the federal level, the work to defend the natural environment has continued at the state and local level. And though we have programs in climate and water, energy and wildlife, public health and education, public health and agriculture is a very key component of the work that we do. So the food systems victories that we've had in recent years include getting fast food chains, including McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut and Subway, to remove antibiotics from their meat supply. We've also been able to significantly reduce the use of high-risk pesticides. And recently, we've passed a bill in New York State that gives farmers a tax credit for surplus harvests that they are able to donate to local food banks. So very critical wins both in the area of food and agriculture as well as at the state and local level. Up to 40% of food in the US goes uneaten. This is probably not news to you, but it's an astonishing figure. That means that we have enough food to feed over 164 million people being thrown away. And I think what makes this figure particularly staggering is that in the US at present, 1 in 8 US households grapple with food insecurity. So though the discussion around food tech innovation is a vital one, we cannot overlook the fact that we already produce enough food to fulfill the nutritional needs of our entire population. When we throw away food, we don't only squander the nutritional value, all the resources that went into that food that was grown are lost. So, for example, many US states right now are facing severe water shortages. But the water associated with food waste alone exceeds that used by the states of Texas, California, and Ohio combined. So where do we go from here? And what holds the most promise in this fight? We know that in the US, the majority of food waste occurs not at the point of harvest, but where food is consumed, in households, in restaurants, and in retail settings. So for this reason, focusing on cities is the most effective way to address food waste at scale. In addition, cities across the US are well-positioned and motivated to address food waste for 3 key reasons. First, cities are struggling with food insecurity and the mandate to address food insecurity among the population. Second, cities in the US are uniquely responsible for providing for waste management, including the infrastructure and the financing of waste systems. There are no federal level restrictions or regulations on waste, and the authority for managing waste lies strictly with the municipalities. And lastly, more and more cities are implementing ambitious sustainability goals to reduce pollution, address climate change, and reduce food waste sent to landfill because of the methane contributions. This is seen in just last Friday, our organization announced an ambitious program with Bloomberg Philanthropies to take on 25 new cities and really ramp up the climate change actions there. So here's what we're doing about it. For the past 6 years, NRDC has been engaged in the nation's most comprehensive effort to raise awareness about food waste and quantify the scale of the issue, of an issue that is often overlooked or invisible. Our theory of change acknowledges that you cannot achieve social good through behavior change, progressive policies and laws, or innovation without first investigating and educating. And of course, you can't manage what you don't measure. Because few cities in the US have quantified the amount, sources, or nature of food waste at the residential level or in the commercial scene setting, we started with 3 cities, New York City, Denver, and Nashville, and asked the following questions, among others. Where is food being wasted? What types of food are going to waste? How can it be prevented? As well as how much surplus food could be redirected to people in need, and how can cities as a unit tackle the challenge of food waste most effectively? Here's what we found. Across the 3 cities we studied, as much as 41,000 short tons per year of food could have been rescued to feed people that was being discarded. That amounts to more than 68 million meals. We also identified the sectors that hold the greatest potential for recovery. And as you can see here, grocery and restaurants together make up more than all the other sectors combined. What's more, we found city by city that the food that is wasted each year could satisfy as much as roughly half of the food needs. Half. So what will it take to unlock the potential? We are now working with cities across the US, providing critical tools like our food waste calculator. This allows cities to take inventory of their own food waste, where it occurs, how it occurs, where the greatest intervention opportunities are, so that cities can understand, figure out strategies on how to finance these interventions and implement them. We're empowering officials to make policy changes. Essentially, we're hiring chief food waste officers in our demonstration cities. We are convening cities together to exchange strategies and best practices, and we're creating powerful metrics and tracking progress. And luckily, we're not alone. The one thing I'll leave this audience with is there's already a movement underway. Here you can see the locales across the US that are taking a lead with implementing organics policies. Much of what's pictured here applies to the diversion of yard waste and food scraps for composting or anaerobic digestion. But there's countless other examples of local legislation and policies taking effect. They include date labeling reform. They include enhanced incentives for farmers and other businesses to donate food. So there's tremendous momentum, and we're confident by working with the cities, we'll start to be able to tackle this great problem. Thank you.